I want to thank Wayforward for sending us a copy of this game to review. Shantae is back, ready to dance her way back onto current platforms with her 5th adventure, Shantae and the 7 Sirens. Originally released for Apple Arcade in 2 parts, this is the Shantae series' second foray into HD, and this time without a Kickstarter to back it up. I was a big fan of Shantae Half Genie Hero Ultimate Edition on the Switch, which I had previously reviewed, and was keen to give her latest adventure a go. Has Wayforward managed to keep up the quality, or is this dance full of blunders? Let's find out. The story this time sees Shantae going on an all-expenses paid vacation with her uncle, Sky and Bolo to the first ever Half Genie festival. It's here that Shantae first meets the other Half Genies from around the world, but during the festival's opening event, the other 5 Half Genies all disappear, leaving only Shantae left to save the day. The story is pretty basic, but I have to give it credit that for the first time in the series we are actually leaving Scuttletown and its neighbouring areas behind and experiencing something new, with new characters in tow. There are a few familiar characters from the hero and villain side, like Shantae's longtime rival Risky Boots, but they are outweighed by the newcomers, like the Half Genies and the residents of the game's 3 towns. The story is pretty fun, with some funny moments throughout, and while I did feel some points were a little predictable, I have to hand it to Wayforward for having the story make logical sense. Story beats like why Shantae is the only Half Genie left are addressed, and there is good background storytelling as well, with parts of the environment changing as the story goes on. But this is more doable than it was in Half Genie Hero because 7 Sirens goes back to the more traditional Shantae formula. Those who were introduced to the series in the last game and have yet to play any others may not realise that the Shantae series is a Metroidvania and not a Mega Man-esque platformer. It usually involves a big open world for Shantae to explore, with the occasional pocket zone called labyrinths. Imagine Zelda's dungeon in Metroid's world. In fact, this game gave me a lot of vibes from the second game in the series, Shantae Risky's Revenge. Shantae travels through various zones and has to solve whatever roadblock an NPC is presented to her. Only then can she reach that zone's labyrinth, get the labyrinth special item, and defeat the boss. Rinse and repeat 5 times, although this game also throws in the additional Fusion Stone hunt or side plot, which has Shantae using her new ability to get a key item or reach somewhere new. And let's talk about those Fusion Stones and medallions quickly, because they act as the justification for the new way that Shantae's dancing works. In past games, Shantae would dance to transform into a new animal form that would completely act like a new character. You could become a monkey, elephant, crab, and so on. Each of these had its own stats and attacks. Not in this game, however. Instead, Shantae's animal transformations are all mobility based, and the biggest change of all, no longer require dancing to pull off. Press the trigger buttons and Shantae automatically turns into a newt and sticks to walls, or hold down the attack button to have Shantae turn into a turtle and hurl herself at high speed. It's honestly a welcome change in my opinion, as it allows the game's flow to be much faster, bringing significantly less stopping and starting. But don't think that dancing is gone entirely. No, instead the dancing gives Shantae special Half Genie powers that influence the whole screen. From a sear power that uncovers invisible platforms and enemies to an earthquake power that shakes the whole room and damages enemies, or makes blocks sink into the ground. These abilities justify the stop-start that dancing brings to the game more than the mobility changes from the past game did, so I am all for it honestly. One change I am not so sure on however is the change to items. So outside of the transformation, Shantae plays as you would expect, whipping her hair and using various sub-weapons like fireballs and the incredibly OP super pike balls, or scimitars as they eventually become. However, this game seems to have broken the items a little bit. Items rely on magic, but getting magic isn't very hard in this game. In fact, getting anything in this game isn't hard. Most enemies drop healing items, and really good ones at that. I found myself never needing to buy potions because enemies would always drop items that healed both health and magic, items I could hold onto and use when needed. This meant I never felt under threat in this game, and also meant my scimitars never ran the risk of disappearing, leaving this permanent spinning ring of death around Shantae whenever I willed it. With this in tow, I completely destroyed almost every boss in the game, including the final one, and I just tanked hits because I had picked up enough healing items. By the third dungeon boss, I had already bought all the items and the strongest hair upgrades in the game, and I hadn't done any grinding. This is all just while naturally playing the game. Before the end of the game, I had hit the max item and gem count, and so had no fear in any battle. I was overpowered, and I don't remember it being this easy to achieve in previous Shantae games. To add to this level of easiness, save points are abundant throughout, likely a side effect of it being designed for Apple Arcade first, so that means even in the very rare instance I did die, usually in the very early game, it barely reset my progress. The game just hands too many things to Shantae. That is, except the collectibles. Heart squids return and act as pieces of heart. Collect 4 and you get a heart vial that increases your total health by 1. Most of these are pretty easy to find, it's just a matter of remembering to return to where you saw them once you have the specific power up. What isn't as easy to find, however, are the monster cards. Now, I am a sucker for any game that has bestiary, especially one that gives extra benefits, and that is what the cards in Shantae and the Seven Sirens offer. You get them by defeating enemies and can equip them for buffs like increased speed or not taking damage from falling in pits. This is a cool addition, and some special boss monster cards can be obtained by collecting nuggets of gold and trading them with specific NPCs. However, there is a problem. Most of the monster cards are RNG drops, but it counts towards the 100% marker, and because of this, the road to 100% is almost certainly filled with grinding. I killed every enemy I came across, got every item and heart squid, but even after 8 hours of play, my total completion was 71%, and this was because of the cards. There were some cards I didn't have enough to unlock the special ability, and others I just didn't have the card at all. It's frustrating because I love stuff like this, but it gave me serious vibes of stickers in Super Smash Bros. Brawl or custom attacks in Smash 4. I feel like they could have killed 2 birds with one stone by introducing a card shop. Then I could have gotten them all and had something to spend my abundance of gems on. Just have it so that you have to kill that enemy at least once for the card to appear, or make it random from a booster pack. It's something to consider for the next game, because I'd really like them to keep this feature and just improve upon it. The last point to talk about is the presentation, and I'm honestly a little mixed on this. The game reuses a lot of models from Half Genie Hero, while having a lot of new models as well, but the environments have gone back to being traditionally 2D and not the 3D style found in the last game. I wouldn't be surprised if this was because of the game's initial platform as iOS, and at first I didn't mind it so much. But then I revisited Half Genie Hero to compare and realised that I really preferred how that game looked, both in background and art style. Every Shantae game has updated the art style somewhat, and in this game it goes for something between Half Genie Hero and Pirate's Curse. I still think it looks really good, but there's this occasional dialogue image that looks a bit off to me. Dialogue also takes up the whole screen now instead of a corner like in the previous game, although I think this is once again due to it being designed for iOS first. One obvious upgrade to the presentation is the addition of fully animated cutscenes, animated by the amazing talent of Studio Trigger, known for the likes of Kill la Kill and BNA Brand New Animal. These cutscenes are fully voiced and happen at key moments throughout the game. Quick editing addition here, it's possible that Studio Trigger only did the opening cutscene and didn't actually do any of the other cutscenes in the game, which might explain why they look quite different. I just wanted to make that note here so it didn't sound like I was crediting everything to Studio Trigger. However, what I do find odd is the randomly voiced dialogue throughout the game. Many games like Fire Emblem Awakening, as an example, have characters only voice the first or a bit of a line in their dialogue before being mute for the rest of it, and usually I don't mind that. However, Shantae's is a bit random. Sometimes Shantae will voice 3 full lines before not voicing anything at all, and other times she'll speak full sentences but the person she's talking to won't have a voice at all. It feels like a half step, and I'd rather they go the full mile, or not have done voice dialogue at all for these sections. Sticking to the audio, I have no problems with the voice acting, although I think Sky's delivery can be a little off at times, and the sound effects are fine. In fact, I think they're probably the same ones from the previous game, but the music is very different. For the first time in the series, Jake Kaufman didn't compose the music, and you can tell. It's not bad, but it's not nearly as energetic as Kaufman's tracks were, and as a result, I don't think they stick as well in my mind. I want to stress though that they aren't bad, and they do fit the situation and setting. Jungle Town's theme sounds like the sort of music you would hear from a jungle tribe, and music knows when to be atmospheric. It can't all be upbeat, and in those spookier or serious moments, the music can change its tone to reflect this. And it's effective. It makes me think of something more like Hollow Knight or Metroid rather than Shantae. It's just that the discography as a whole isn't nearly as memorable. Shantae and the Seven Sirens is a great addition to the Shantae franchise, and fans of the series will definitely enjoy it. It's a return to the Metroidvania style of old, and it's a pretty good Metroidvania. However, I don't think it's as good as the last two entries in the series. It's too easy, and I do think there are parts of the presentation that could be better. That said, the gameplay itself is some of the best the series has ever had from a mobility perspective, and some of the boss fights are more creative than simply wailing on them, even if many can still be cheesed. Despite my grievances, I kept wanting to play Shantae and the Seven Sirens even after it was done, and I may go for that New Game Plus speedrun in my own time. And that feeling of wanting to keep playing is the mark of a great game. I highly recommend everyone plays this. Once again, I want to give a special thanks to Wayforward for sending us a copy of this game. I hope it does them well. Let me know in the comments if you are interested in picking up Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Would this be your first Shantae game, or are you more familiar with the Metroidvania ones from before? I'm actually quite curious how many people jumped on with Half Genie Hero. As always, you can support us on Patreon, as all these lovely fine folks on screen do right now. But if you want to support us in other ways, then sharing this video with your friends, or any Shantae related communities that you know of, is a massive help. We all have to dance to the rhythm of the YouTube algorithm, and I've got 2 left feet, so any support I can get would be greatly appreciated. With that guys, always remember to return to the source.